Record on this computer. Okay, good. Now we're recording. Every web page that you create that is its own individual entity should have its own little repository. Otherwise, you're going to end up having one big junk pile of a repository, right? You have unlimited numbers of repositories, or, you know, there may be limits, but it's like hundreds. So don't worry about it. And each one of these bad boys can have a page. It can become its own web page. So I'm going to go ahead here and I am going to create my repository. I hit the plus, new repository. HTML3 is the name. I already created this one, so I'm going to call it 3A so I can do it over again. It's public because I'm cheap and I'm not paying for GitHub and I'm not making any private proprietary code, so I don't need that. I'm going to initialize it. I'm going to create my repository. By the way, if you're curious, I think I mentioned this before, git ignore, there may be things that you want to not, like you may have files that are in your folder that you do not want Git to sync. Like you may have, you know, something that are your personal notes on the file and you don't necessarily want those to go up to a public GitHub. So you may have ignore files. So that's what that is. And then the licenses are just different things. The common, really common is this, like WordPress, I believe, is all under these general public licenses. They're all kind of free, just different legalese kinds of things. For us, since we're doing neither of those, I'm going to leave them on none. Create my repository. I did that, okay. So I have my repositories. Now I can go look at my repositories. Let me go forward. Okay, here it is. So now I can clone or download this. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to open it in my desktop because I do have GitHub installed. So that should actually just boot up my GitHub here, and it's saying, hey, do you want to clone that? And I'm saying, why, yes, I do. And since I already have an established Git folder, GitHub folder, or whatever it is, it already kind of knows what I'm doing. It's going to just create this folder in here. Recognize this is the reason why I have you doing this first before going in and creating your website, is because GitHub will only clone a repository into an empty folder. So that's where we were running into a lot of problems last week, because we were kind of creating the repository and a lot of you already had the site. So you had to move things from here to over here. And since a lot of you didn't have your sites defined properly, that would break all your links. Just a mess, right? So if we do this first, you develop in there. If you manage your site properly from the get-go, we're going to avoid a lot of those problems. So I'm just going to hit this clone button. It's cloning, and so now I'm ready. So now if I get this stuff out of my way, let's minimize all of this. So I have my Git folder, which I believe I moved over somewhere else. I have way too much stuff on here. So here's my Git2 folder, I guess is the one that I'm working in. Here's my HTML3A that I just created and I cloned into my desktop. So my Git actually created that folder for me. So before I do anything in the world, I have Git create that folder for me, and then life is smoother, right? Okay, so now I'm going to open up Dreamweaver. And here's where I see a lot of you failing, even though I keep telling you over and over and over again. After I open up Dreamweaver, what's the very first thing I need to do? Open new folder. If I was using brackets, that would be it. I would open from folder. I have to go in and I have to site, create a new site, or if I'm somewhere where I already created this site, I'm going to manage the sites or select it somewhere. But now I'm going to say HTML3 because this is a project that I'm working on. And I'm going to point directly to that HTML3A folder that I just created. Save. Now I can see up here in my files window, which I can get from here, Windows Files. Here are all the sites that I have recently created. Actually, I have a bunch of junk in there. But I should be able to go up here and see my files. It has the README that was created by GitHub. It has nothing else in there. And you should always, 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 inside of really anything, if you're looking at brackets, it'll be over on this side. If you're looking, or, you know, Atom, I think, is also over here. If you're looking at Dreamweaver, it's over here. You should always confirm that the files that you are looking at are the ones that you want to work with. Is this the folder that you want to work in? Why, yes, it is. That is the folder. The biggest problem that I am seeing everybody make is not knowing what index file they're working on. They're working on an index file here, but they think they're over here, and then they're overwriting things. And why are my pictures not working? Well, because you're not linking to anything. Organization is the key. So if you do this simple process, it will help you be organized. So now, here I am. I can go in. Yeah, Marguerite.
Okay, so I saved my HTML folder from the clone page, and it immediately went to the same folder that is holding my.
It should be. You should have one Git spot, and then all of your sites inside of that.
So when it's in brackets, it's supposed to be under my other project?
No.
Yeah,
when you say file, open folder, I don't have brackets open. Here, let me open it up. If I was using brackets or Atom or something else that does not have a managed site situation like Dreamweaver does, if you're using Dreamweaver, you don't have to use brackets. I would say file, open folder, and this should pop up here. It's a little slow, it seems. Open folder, and then I'm going to find that folder, and I'm looking for my Git to folder here. Select, because you should just be looking inside of that folder. When you're not organized, you suffer, right? So this here, this side here is pretty much the same thing as the files over here in Dreamweaver. So just realize we're looking at the same thing. And it should be inside one main Git folder, which could be your site folder, it could be whatever. But there you have it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create my new HTML file. What does it have to be called if I'm going to have it be a GitHub page, a Git page? It has to be called index. That's not the same as a title. Title can be whatever, so I'm going to call this HTML3 because that's the name of the project. Create, I'm going to file, save as, save this bad boy as index. And notice, because my site is defined in Dreamweaver, this is opening up right to the right place. If you find that you have to save as and like point it to a different folder, that means your site isn't defined. And that's like, you know, I use the example, if your friend calls you and says, how do you get to North Star Mall? You say, where are you starting from? Your folder is the starting place, and everything else is a relative path. Well, relative to, you know, Ingram Park Mall, you're going to get on 410 West or East and then get off on San Pedro. Relative to, you know, Cowboys Dance Hall or whatever, what's that one out there on the east side? You're going to get on 410 East, right? That's a relative path. The path to North Star Mall is relative to wherever you start. This is the exact same thing. Whenever you have to tell the pictures and things where you're starting, it's a relative path. So I'm going to call this index, save. Now look, index has appeared right here. Yay. And because Dreamweaver loves me, I'm not going to use this stuff with Git here. We can actually have stuff associated inside of Git, but since everybody's using different tools and stuff, I don't want to focus on that. Also because we have the Git GUI, which is doing this for us. But I'm not using the specified HTML things. excuse me, the specified Dreamweaver Git stuff. Okay, now in here, I can right click on here and I can create a new folder. Actually, I have to click on this new folder. I can call it assets. I can go in here. I can create a new folder, call it images. Pretty soon we're going to create a CSS file in there, but right now we don't need it. Okay, so now I have this in here. Now what I want to do is I want to, inside of that Git folder, I'm going to be using, this is the only time that I will want, I don't know what this is. No, that's not what I want. Okay. This is perfect. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create inside of here, I'm going to create a folder called downloads or I don't know, files. It doesn't really matter. There is no magical thing. And I'm going to drag this PDF inside of it because we're going to make a downloadable file.
This is all under HTML3.
This is all under HTML3 because we haven't even gotten to the rubric yet. This is just how to get yourself set up to make your life simple is what this is. Okay, now you're going to want to make a prettier page and stuff, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what's on the rubric and then we're going to let it go. I want you to make an actual page. I'm just going to show you kind of the basics here. Sorry, I thought I had my courses open. I must have closed them in my closing frenzy. Okay, so we are now in the HTML3. This is due the 17th. And if you open this up, I have the modules to watch in Lynda. As well as if you're in here, I have the links to the HTML or to the W3 schools about creating links and creating lists. But let's take a look at what this rubric is. Okay, so first thing I'm asking for on this is that everything that you've done on previous pages is still the same. And I'm asking you at this point to please start making a new page. The reason I want you to make a new page is because I want you to have more practice doing it. Because, you know, if you do it once every 3 weeks or something, you're going to forget how to do things. But if you do stuff fresh every week, it'll be easy peasy. So I would like you to make some basic pages with the nav, header, footer, images, all of that pretty stuff. But in addition to that, I would like you to make some links and things. So the first link that I'm telling you about is something that is within your page. So what do I mean within, or within your site, excuse me, that's different. Within your site means that you have to have multiple pages. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this same page as a different name. So I can call this whatever I want, page 2, for instance. Now notice I didn't put any spaces in there. Why not? It doesn't understand spaces. What does that turn into, a space? Percentage 20, almost 20%, reversed. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And now give this a second here or refresh it. And you can see now I have 2 pages. So now how do I make a link within this page? Right now I have page 2 open. So I will use an anchor tag. A stands for anchor. And back in the days of, what was it, Mozilla Navigate, they used to put a little picture of an anchor. It was cute. How many of you ever did MySpace. Do you remember the little anchor tags, little anchors? So that's what that stands for, is anchor, but nobody ever thinks of it before anymore. So I'm going to say href. What does href stand for? Anybody know? Hyperreference. Because back in the day, we used to love the word hyper. Hyper linked us all over the place. We thought it was, we thought we were super cool being able to make things jump around. So anyway, so I automatically here, it gave me this. I am on page 2, so I want this to link back to the index. And now I'm going to close that anchor tag. And now here I can say home. So you can see here I have a link home. Now on this page, instead of index, I can say page 2. Now instead of home, I can say next. Now the cool thing here is that anything that I put in between these 2 anchor tags is going to become clickable. So I can have an image in there or whatever I want to do. Now if I save these, let me look at it live. Actually, now let me look at it over here. So here's my stuff. If I open this up, I have next. Oops, I didn't save my page 2, I guess. So I'm going to save these so they actually work. Woohoo! Now I have links within my site to my multiple pages. Power. Okay, so now let's say I want to put a link to Google. I'm going to go here and I'm going to say Google to get the whole address. So I know here that it's HTTPS. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy that. Let's make a link on this first page to Google. So again, I'm going to say href, hyperreference, equals, and I'm going to paste that whole address in there, not just google.com. It has to be the whole HTTPS, blah, 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 blah. Now I can say Google. Just Google. We're going to the Googles. I'm going to go ahead and save that. File, save. Here, we can actually make it cooler. I can say target, because I hate it when things open up the page that I'm on. So if I say target equals underscore blank, that means that it's going to open it up in a new page. It'll open up a new tab. So I'm going to say file, save. Let's close this Google's here. Close this. Refresh. Okay, so here I have Google. It shows up. When I hit Google, watch what happens over here. Oops. I guess it came up over there. Here's my page, but there, it opened up Google. Whoop, it must not have got my, I must not have saved after I got my blank in there. File, I didn't. Oh, maybe I did. Weird. What's going on there? Anyway. Because that's not the right page, that's why. Target blank, wrong one. Can you see where I did this wrong? Who can find my mistake? It's a really silly one. No. Where am I going? I'm going back to index. I put it on the wrong link. So if I take this, I'm just going to cut it. A lot of our mistakes are really silly ones. A lot of even my mistakes are really silly ones. So Did I put the Google link on here? So here I have to put that target equals blank. So on my index, here I'm going to refresh. I'm on page 2, refresh. There we go. And there it opened up a new tab.
Can you go back? Can you lift it a little bit so we can see what you put?
Sure.
Why do you have to put the target in the blank?
What the target blank did is it made it open up a new tab. Look,
Oh,
watch this. See, when I go between HTML1 and the index and HTML2, I stay in that same tab. Well, I didn't because now I told it to make a new one. And I didn't erase it clearly. So it's like going and making new tabs for me every time. Target underscore blank makes a new tab.
How did you close that href for that?
The href, here, I'll lift it up again.
Just a,
Yep, just an A. So whatever it is that you want to have be to be the image or to be the link, you put in there. So like, let me grab a little picture. Okay, so I have, let's say instead of wanting to hit the next page, I want to click that little image. So in here in the hyper reference, I can put image source equals, I'm going to browse for it because it's in my image in my page here. So now if I go in and I look at this, here it is, and I can click on it. Notice how I have a finger on there. I click on it and it goes to page 2. So anything that you put within that A tag, generally it's a word or an image, becomes clickable. And then you can click it. Okay, let's say I want to make it so when you click on that image, instead it is downloadable rather than going somewhere. I type in download. So now instead of going to, actually I need to change my source. Instead of going to that page, I'm going to go to the image, and if I want the image to be downloaded, I'm going to go there. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And I say download. So my href is what I want them to click, but then when they click it, I want them to download. So let's go ahead and save this. Now it's saying, hey, do you want to download that? So generally, let's say instead I have that, but I want them to download a PDF or something when that happens. So I'm going to put in here, that's why I drug that PDF into this. So I'm going to put whatever I want them to download here inside. Browse, assets, files. I put this change of primary institution. What should I do before I actually use this? Close out the spaces, fix the name so that it can be on the web and not get lost with all those spaces. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and use that. File, save. I can actually change its name in here. I think I can say download equals change major. Okay. So let's go in here. Did I save this file? Save, I saved it. Let's refresh this so it's correct. So I click on this. Oh, now it's being stubborn. It may not be able to actually find that thing, or what did I do wrong? Let's go back and find my mistake. May not be able to find it because I have all that stuff in there, or it may not like this. Let's get rid of that because that was just kind of a guess. There is a way to change the name as you go in, but that won't make it be found any easier. Yeah, it can't find that PDF, probably because the name is so bad. Let's rename it. So if I'm going to rename something, what's the best way, if I'm in Dreamweaver or anything, what's the best way to rename something? No, because I haven't even put up GitHub. I don't want to go in the folder. What I want to do is actually rename it in here. And the reason why I want to rename it in here is because then Dreamweaver will make my changes for me. So I can say change major.pdf. And it will say, hey, do you want to update those links? And what should I say? Why, yes, please. So watch what happens here. It fixed it for me. This is why all of your rearranging, like say, oh, I don't want that photo there. I want this actually up here in this assets folder or something. Do everything inside of the files because it will fix it. I have a red mark here. Let's see. It's telling me something's wrong. It's probably the alt tag. I'm guessing. Let's see what's wrong. This is another thing we love about Dreamweaver because Dreamweaver, well, most things will, but they will tell you what is wrong. Yeah, it's saying I need an alt tag. So for my picture, my image source, I would put in here alt. Okay. That's what an alt tag is. An alt tag you put for every image that somebody who is having their screen read to them with a screen reader would want to know. If you have a bunch of things that are like lines or background images or something that don't actually or should not actually be included in the layout of the page, they're not informational, they're just kind of like structural, don't put alt tags because people who have screen readers don't want to be bothered getting, you know, left line, right line. I don't care. That's irrelevant to me because it's a visual thing only. But if it's an informational thing, like this is a logo, that's important. You'll put an alt tag. Okay, file, save. Let's see if it works now. It's being stubborn. I don't know what it's done. I will figure out what the mistake is and let you know here. Something is going on with my Dreamweaver or I made a mistake. Anybody see a mistake? Anything blatantly wrong here? No, I'll figure it out. Don't worry. Sometimes Dreamweaver gets a little glitchy. And I'm not saying that I didn't make a stupid mistake because there may well be a stupid mistake. But sometimes also Dreamweaver, because of the way it's set up working with the server, it happens to me all the time where it stops updating the server at Dreamweaver. And I think that it's making changes and it's not making changes. And so I sit here thinking, why is this not working? It's because Dreamweaver just stopped updating for me. So one trick that I can do to see if my code is the same, and I want you guys to start getting used to this, is going in, if you are using Firefox or Chrome, you can go into the web developer tools. So here I can go into the source and verify that the source is the same as mine, which it is, which means that this mistake somewhere along the line is mine. Why is it not working? I will have to figure that out. Something stupid, I'm sure. Anyway, we saw how it worked the first time. I'll figure it out and we'll come back to that. Let's go back to the rubric. Okay, an internal site. Internal link is our next thing that we want to do. An internal link really requires that you have a whole bunch of stuff on your page. Like if you have a whole bunch of pictures and you want to jump down to a certain category or something like that, what you're going to do is you will put in something, an ID. So let's say here that I'm just going to steal code actually from somewhere. Let's steal a bunch of code. Steal contents from something. Oh, it downloaded it all. Every time I clicked on it, it downloaded it. It was working. It was just downloading it automatically, transparently into my download folder. So I have it in here 12 different times. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. So it was working. Let's look at somebody's page here. Whose pages do we have? I don't know. I'm just going to pretend we have this working here. So the way you make an internal link is you will go in here and you will put something like, for instance, say I have this image. I'm going to take this image out and have this just be okay. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put a bunch of line breaks to move that down the page for me. Line breaks. Okay, so I have this, and let's say I have a whole bunch of content, but I'm too lazy to put it in there right now. So I'm going to go ahead and say File, Save. And what I'm going to do is I am going to put an ID on this, in this image. And you can put an ID in anything. It can be in a div, which is really common, in your header, in your footer, whatever. I'm going to say ID equals logo, because that's what that is, right? Now up here, I'm going to make a link. And my href is going to be to my ID equals logo. And the way we identify that something is an ID is with a hashtag. So I'm going to say hashtag logo. Put it in there. I'm going to say logo here and close that. Okay, so This means whenever you see something like this indicates that it's probably on the page that you are looking at. So this is an on the page internal link. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Let's go out here and refresh this. And when I say logo, well, here, I have to actually make this not visible. It jumps up. It didn't work when it's like this because the logo is already visible. So this only works when you have a really, really, really long page. That's pretty common because nowadays, especially with phones, it's very common to have a single page app or a single page web page where they're just jumping around. So this, for a while, it wasn't very common, but now it's pretty common. So you'll see, you know, if I was in a mobile view here, and I can get into a mobile view like this, look, by going into my web developer, and I believe I have a mobile view, web console. Here's my mobile view. This is what it would look like in a phone. Go to logo, bam, it pops up to where I can see it. So that, my friends, is an internal link. The one link that is within the same page. Okay? Yeah? Somebody have, huh?
I didn't see the ID.
Oh, the
What
ID?
location
Okay.
was.
So, okay, let's go back. We can go back. Thank you. Thank you for telling me I'm going too fast. Because I will sometimes just like ramble on. Okay, here, the link itself where I say logo, that's an Ahref, but instead of saying I'm going to Google or something, I say I'm going to ID is logo, hashtag logo. And the reason why it's hashtag logo is because down here in the image, I put ID equals logo. Yes.
So you know how you're doing like logo next to it, you're not using the alt, you're doing like lead logo, but you're using that as a description.
Right.
You don't have to use those lines or anything, like those lines. Make comments, write it in.
Oh, right. No, comments don't show up for anybody but me. So like if I say here, hashtag that, you mean this?
Yeah, so how do you get logo? Oh, because you want logo to show up.
I want logo to show up, right.
Okay.
Or,
Really quick,
huh?
just really for a moment.
Yeah. We're almost done, actually. How do you make a page? File, new, HTML. Brackets is going to be similar. Let me see, brackets.
The new file or
You have this, you're inside of the site. Look, it's doing all these things that I did. I'd say file, new, and then I would save it as file, save as. Make sure that I have HTML files here selected. I don't know, I guess I'd say page 3.html. I guess I have to put in there when I'm using brackets.
okay, so move from brackets to Sublime.
Well, it's going to work the exact same way.
So I'll go to file.
Yeah.
Open a new file.
See, so that created
Untitled.
page 3, right? But this is why I can't necessarily, I'm focusing on Dreamweaver because it's one that I know almost everybody has. But there's 110 bazillion free HTML editors out there, and I can't focus on all of them in class. The other free one I'll do is brackets. I'll look at a little bit. Okay, so anyway, that's how you make a page. Yeah. Sure. Remember, I'm going to have a video, and you can actually watch this video over again if you need to.
It's on your, it's on your YouTube, right?
You know, for some reason, YouTube just isn't liking these, is not liking these particular videos. So what I may do is I'll put a link, I'll put them on my Google Drive and just give y'all a link, like the first one, if I can't get YouTube to take it. But it'll be available. Okay, so now let's take a look at the other stuff that I'm asking for. An unordered list. Now, the cool thing, and the reason why you might wonder why are we combining lists is because lists actually can turn into navigation stuff. One sec. So down here, I'm gonna move my image down there. All of this white space, by the way, doesn't make any difference. It doesn't care about white space. Okay, so I'm gonna make a list. I'm gonna make an unordered list. So an unordered list is called a UL. Okay, and then inside of a UL, inside of a list, they're called list items. So every line inside of a list is a LI. So I can say here, apples. Just going to copy this 3 times, control copy. Apples, oranges, bananas, kale. Okay, since this is an unordered list, it just has dots. Once we get into styling, we'll be able to turn those dots into all kinds of different things. But we're not doing styling right now, so don't really worry about it. There's all kinds of things we can do. We can put titles on this list. We can do all kinds of stuff, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Let's change this from an unordered list to an ordered list. If U stands for unordered list, what do you think I should put there for an ordered list? Oh, yes, ordered list. So I'm going to go here and now I need to change it to an ordered list. And look, now it has numbers. Now it's an ordered list. I also asked for you to have a description list. What do you think I should have there? D. So actually, though, this works a little bit differently. A description list does. So I'm going to actually make a separate one. So I'm going to turn that back into an ordered list. A description list actually works with terms and descriptions. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make a description list. I'm going to close it so I know where to type. And description lists are kind of like paired lists. So I'm going to have a they say tags and terms. So I'm going to say description tag. What am I going to tag this? Let's say dogs. And then after this, I'm going to have my description. So it's a DD, and I'm going to say furry, warm, best buddies. So there's a description list. Now I can have cats. vicious, clawing, unfeeling critters. I actually like cats. I do like cats. Don't get me wrong. Cats are fun. But okay, so you can see this is the description with the term. So that is a descriptive list. So it's kind of putting tags and descriptions there with it. And again, later on, we will be able to do styles, more styles and things like that, and do more things with this. So don't freak out if you're trying to get your stuff to look better. And then you can also put lists within lists. So let's say I want to make lists of oranges. So I can say here, I can put an unordered list here. List item. Actually, no, instead of that, let's put a descriptive list in here. Well, now let's put something here. So you can play with these. So let's say list item. Valencia. It's another kind of orange, navel. So you can make a whole outline this way. Okay, let's take a look and see if there's anything I missed. I think that was everything that was on there. Yep, ordered list and a definition list. That is everything this week. Now, obviously, I want you to actually put this on a page. So the big part is actually going in everything that we have worked on up to this point. So I still want you to go in and make a page with a header, a footer, some, layout information, all that kind of stuff. I want you to start over so that you get more practice, and I want you to add these things in. Yes. Right. That's the GitHub. So here, good, thank you for asking. Let's take a look now. If I go into my GitHub, now I have all of these things in here, right? I say, okay, I'm happy with this. I'm so happy that I'm committed. I want to commit myself to this change, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say day 1, whatever. First start or something like that. And then I commit it to the master. My master is what is on my on my computer. That is my master site. Then I have to push it to the origin, because right now it's committed, because GitHub does not want, what committing does is GitHub does not want to track every freaking little change you make. Every time you make a spelling error and have to go back and fix it, it doesn't want to do that. It only wants you to commit when you say, okay, I've made a bunch of changes. I'm happy with this. Now I want GitHub to pay attention. Now GitHub, take a picture. That's what that is. So GitHub, now you commit. GitHub is taking a picture on your desktop or on your local computer. But it's just committed that to the local computer. It's taken that picture. Now you have to push it up to the origin, and the origin is at GitHub, right? That is your spot. Now I'm pushing up to the origin. So now I don't have any changes in here, but I can look, I have history. I have a history of changes, but nothing else. Okay, now let's take a look at my GitHub. Make sure I'm logging in on the right one. So if I look at that HTML3, here are all these things that I did. It's uploaded that for me. So now think back to last week. How do I get to make this into a web page? Because right now, if I open this up, it's just going to show me my code. Right. Settings. So I'm going to go back, and this is how you make it a website. Go back to settings. Scroll all the way down to GitHub pages. Go to the master branch, because we only have the master branch. GitHub source saved, blah, blah, blah. This here is going to be my link. It may not work. If it doesn't work the first time you push it and you're pretty sure you did everything right, well, it worked for me. But sometimes there's a little bit of a delay between the time that you actually set that master and the time that you can actually see the page, or you may have to clear your cache. But here I go. There's what I have. This is my link. So now if I was going to turn this in, I would click this, whatever. I don't have the option of turning it in because I'm the teacher. But I would click that, paste that link in there.
It wouldn't work if you didn't do anything on the GitHub desktop, right?
No, you could give me your GitHub link, but I wouldn't see the page. I like to see the pages.
How do we find that URL if we need to track it down again later, a day or two later?
Just go into your GitHub and it'll be there. It'll always be the same for that particular page. So if you go in and, which one? Okay, so here, if I just go back and go into my,
desktop app.
oh, from the desktop app,
How can I find out, or it took me forever, I found it eventually, but I was checking everything.
if you go to repository view on GitHub.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, I need to ask this. So I've been kind of like adding to my original.
Mhm.
HTML.
right.
Is that okay, or do you want-
It's okay, but on this one, I want you to start over because more practice and the mere fact that you're making that face at me tells me that you need more practice, right? Because it tells me that you don't want to do it, which means that it's a little bit painful, which means that you need the practice, right?
Well, I have to come up with things to say.
Yeah.
On a new subject.
On a new, oh, so it's coming up with things to say that is the issue. It is. It really is. We'll talk about your dog. Do you have a cat? Dog, cat? Yeah. Do a page for your cat.
I did.
Okay. Do a page for, do you have a favorite ice cream? No? Favorite food? A recipe? Something you like to cook? There you go. Yeah. I mean, make it on anything. I don't really care. I don't really care what you make it on. Just go in and have fun. And you can have as many of these pages, again, you can have as many of these repositories as you want. You can make as many web pages as you want. But think of how cool you look when you go to apply for a job and you say, yeah, my portfolio is just on GitHub. They sound like, oh yeah, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You say, yeah, I learned that in Web 1 at Vista. They'll be like, don't tell them that. Don't tell them our secrets. We make you guys look way cooler than you need to be right off the bat. Okay, are we set? You know what you're doing?
No.
Okay, let's take a look at the module. I think that's it right now in the module. I don't think I have anything else besides this particular project. Yeah, that's it. So that is your project for the week. Any more questions, or you think you got it? I'm going to stop the recording. Wouldn't it be funny if I didn't record this?
No.
No, it would not be. Very, very odd. Very, very